Amy Cockayne, Vicki Cornborough. Good evening. It's good morning here. How are we, ladies?
Yeah, good. We've had a good couple of days now in Whangarei, so a bit different to Auckland, but yeah, no, I quite like it. It's a bit more chilled for me.
How much have you been sort of just grimacing at people's pronunciations of New Zealand names, Amy?
Yeah, it's been quite bad to be honest. I have been trying to teach a few people, but some people you've just kind of got to accept that they're never going to get it. Skaz's excuse is that she can't roll her tongue, so she can't roll her R's.
So how do you say it again?
Whangarei.
Whangarei.
Whangarei. Yeah.
Whangarei.
That's genetic, apparently, the rolling of the tongue. You can either
It
do
is,
it or
yeah,
you
I learned
can't.
about that in science at school, that is, yeah.
But more people can roll their tongue than can't roll their tongue. So if you can't roll your tongue, you're special.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly why we've got two of the Red Roses superstar front rowers on for this kind of quality chat and information. This is not just chat about rugby, this is learning stuff as well. Look, enough of all these backs getting the headlines and returning from injuries and scoring tries, although that's wonderful, obviously.
My roomie you're talking about.
Yeah, oh, okay, well, we'll get into that. No, it's brilliant to have you guys on together ahead of France. Just wanted to chat about that, but let's have a meander around. Vicki, how did you feel that the Fiji game went?
Well, it's real cliche, but it definitely was a tale of two halves. And I think we got the short end of the stick of getting the first half of trying to keep up with the Fijians whenever they broke our line, but also the amount of tackles that went in and the ferocity of that first half. It was an actual proper test match, and I think at times we got tested. And yes, like second half, our skill and our fitness kind of shone through, but that first half was an absolute battle. And I definitely think that it showed us what it's like to be in a World Cup, and for us there's no easy games at all. Every game is like we learn something about ourselves, and boy did we learn a lot from playing Fiji.
What did you learn?
I learned that the Fijians hurt when you tackle them, and actually I thought I was quite a fit player, but I was blowing in that game, but in a good way. Like I think we never really kind of lost any sort of hold on the game. I think the scoreline for us, like we were always in control of the game there, but I think we definitely went into that thinking we were going to be a lot more comfortable than we were. And fair play to Fiji. I'm definitely a Fijian fan now. Like they played some amazing rugby in that game, and it definitely tested us.
Amy, the word surprise is probably not right. You're uber professional. Every nook and every cranny is researched and what have you, but was it a bit of a okay at those breakdowns at scrum time? Because yeah, they were incredibly physical, and yeah, I watched their previous games, but they came out with an absolute ferocity in terms of physicality.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we kind of knew exactly what they were going to do. You know, they're this crazy, do whatever they want, flary, offloady team. But I think maybe the physicality was something that was a lot more than we were expecting. So like we kept saying all week in the review, like we knew exactly what they were going to do and we still couldn't stop it. So like in terms of our tackling, like we wanted to go one low, one high to lock up the ball. But if we didn't get that perfectly timed, if someone went low, they were offloading it. If someone went high, you're getting smashed about 50 meters backwards. So it was a real test in terms of getting that right, which we really didn't get right for most of the game. So yeah, fair play to Fiji. I'm super excited to see how they go against some other teams as well.
Yeah, that South Africa game will be absolutely fascinating, won't it? And have you guys discussed and possibly off the bat? I mean, look, it never looked like you're going to lose the game 19 points to 84. Says it all, really, doesn't it? But since that game, have you spoken about it and said, geez, do you know what? Isn't that wicked to see Fiji competing at this level, first World Cup? Isn't it brilliant for the game?
Yeah, I think, like Vic said, we're all now Fiji super fans, I think. And even in terms of the crowd that was there at the game as well, I think it was 90% Fijian fans for most of the day, to be honest with you, even though we're in New Zealand.
They get around, don't they? Wherever you go in the world, they get around.
Yeah, and I think that was just awesome, and that was something we were really excited about going into that game, knowing that there was going to be a good atmosphere, even though they might be booing us, but that they were definitely going to bring the atmosphere because they always have a great backing. So I think what they're doing in rugby is great. You know, the success they've had in sevens as well, and now putting that into a 15s game. So it's only good for World Rugby.
Assess your individual games and possibly just widen it out to the pack as a whole. Some lovely hands in the midfield, Vicki Cornborough, to put someone away. Does that go down as an assist?
No, it just goes down as a pass.
What?
Yeah, it's hurting my stats for carries. I think, like, yeah, maybe I should do a bit more carrying, a little bit less passing. But yeah, it's nice to pass and then watch somebody go off and score and, you know, trail in behind. But I think, yeah, the way to beat the Fijians, there's no point knocking on the front door and trying to go through them. You have to have a bit of flair in the way we play as well. And I think just being able to do that, whether you've got a 1 on your shirt or a 15 on your shirt, I think everyone like in the England squad likes to show off that they have got skills outside of their primary like set as well. And that's just one of the things I can do.
Indeed it is. And then what does Amy do for the rest of the pack? Because she's at the back of the driving mauls, getting her stats up. Ridiculous try scoring record, but obviously it's an 8-player thing. So does she buy the coffees on the Monday morning? What did she do for the pack?
You haven't seen her kick yet.
And also, one of my tries was actually I had to scoot off and score that. That wasn't just given to me. That was like to dive on the floor and everything.
Scoot, at least what was that? 3.5 yards.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it wasn't the job wasn't done at that point.
That's an area that's working really, really well. How much attention to detail do you put on that? You've swapped and changed with your forwards coach. We have Blaze, and Ferguson. I can't remember the name of the chap from DMP. Luffers, of course. And now Lewis Deacon. Is he the most line-out nausea of those 4?
No, I think Fergie definitely goes down as the world's biggest nose. He just knew everything about everything. I think Diggs comes in definitely as a line out like leader in terms of coming up with strategies, but also you've got a squad like and a forward pack that know our own identity, and we know where we're strong. And actually I think our line out leaders, you look at Abby Ward, you look at Zoe Oldcroft, they have such a hand in what we want to do, how we want to play. And I think, you know, between all of them there's a collaboration of how they look to attack the line outs. And then similarly from a scrum point of view, you've got like myself and Berna who definitely feed into to our scrum process and make sure that, you know, that's an attacking threat as well, because our set piece is our platform and we can't play without a platform.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking at the weekend, if you give a penalty away against England, you're talking between sort of 40 and 60 metres you're giving away because of the guys kicking and then you're driving line. How much is that? You're now at a World Cup. Yeah, that incredibly intense block coming in, Amy. How much now is it? Are the coaches just standing back a little bit, and is it very much player driven? Is that sort of increasing as the sort of weeks in New Zealand go on, or is still plenty of influence from the coaches?
I guess it's a bit more player led. Ultimately, we're the ones on the pitch, aren't we? So we've got to be happy with what the plan is to do on the pitch and stuff like that. But like our strat group. They're quite good anyway on a normal week, would have quite a strong heavy like input into the way we're going to play the game. So yeah, probably not actually too different, but we are quite player driven in the first place, to be honest with you.
Also, women like to make a lot of the decisions. We like to know why we're doing something as well. So I think that naturally we as a team are a lot more involved in that decision making process because we want to know why and we want to know how. And yeah, we want to do it to the best of our ability as well.
And that's why it's better, because you understand why you're doing it. You tell a bloke at a rugby training session to run through a wall, they say, yeah, no problem. You'd ask why, and therefore you'll do it better. Anyway, let's not get into that rabbit warren. You know what a fan I am. That kind of seamlessly moves into France. Don't know if you've had a chance to look at their South Africa game. I mean, it's very easy to say typical France, but hot and cold. Just how much is that intensity, that physical battle for a longer time going to increase against France? You know what's coming, right?
We've obviously had the benefit of playing France, a number of times over the last couple of years, and we know each other kind of quite well, and we know both of our game plans very well, which is a blessing and a curse in terms of how do you play someone that you played so many times. Do you do something different? How do you over prepare? How do you under prepare? For us, I think there's a lot of focus on what we want to do going into that game, and especially how do we take our performance on from Fiji and then elevate that even more, and especially kind of around set piece. For us, we know that whoever wins that set piece battle will ultimately control the momentum of the game. So that's a big focus for us going into that game against France, because we know that that's an area they'll want to be able to target. But for us, it's give that good platform and then play some good rugby around that.
I think that word control is really big, because in that Fiji game we didn't have control, especially that first half. Fiji were controlling the tempo, they were controlling the physicality, they were in control. We were surviving it, but we weren't controlling it. And our S&C showed us the stats on he showed us stats anyway. He was like, it's not actually that much different first half to second half in terms of the effort, but it's just the difference on when we were in control and when we weren't in control, how it makes you feel. So yeah, it was really almost annoying to see that they weren't too different the first and second half, but just that control. So if we can get control in the France game, it'll obviously make life a lot easier.
Yeah, it certainly will. They were given a proper physical battle by South Africa. Again, another team very new to kind of this level, and I was slightly surprised at France and kind of what they were doing, what they weren't doing. You know them so well. 10 in a row, is it now? I think you've won.
10 or 11, something like that.
10 or 11 in a row. I mean, I'd say personally, you guys have won before you get on the field, just because of that. That is a massive hurdle to get over, and with the Latin temperament that the French have, I think it's even more of a difficult one. Do you get into them in the field when you're going down for that first scrum and say, you're going to make it 12, or all the rest of it? Is there a bit of chop-sing, a bit of psychological warfare in that front row? Come on, be honest.
They probably just pretend that they don't understand us half the time. I think that's probably what happens. But I personally don't. But I don't know. Ask Vicky if she does.
No, I think there definitely is a lot of rivalry, and it comes out in
different ways.
If we look back to the last game of the Six Nations, which obviously was going to be the Six Nations championship decider
final, yeah.
Even before the game kicked off, I think there was a head-to-head tussle of who was going to go into the tunnel from the warm-up, and you ended up having this big argy-bargy in the tunnel cool. As England were exiting the pitch, France were exiting the pitch, and then you had elbows flying everywhere, and everybody wanted to get there first. So even before the game kicked off, you've already got that tension and that kind of competition.
What was funny about that though was because we started walking off first, we were the far end from the tunnel, so the crowd was booing, but then halfway through our walk off, France started to go, so then the crowd was half booing, half clapping. They weren't quite sure what they wanted to do anymore, and then it was kind of a look between Skaz and them kind of being well, we're going to get there first, and then it went from a really normal walk to everyone was quickly walking, and then we're running in, we're getting into that tunnel first. So it was the most bizarre thing, but I absolutely loved it.
Did it calm down, or was it with a few words and what have you spoken, or did you just divide at the end of the tunnel?
No, I think there was a bit of pushing and shoving.
Yeah, a bit of pushing and shoving, but no words. I think they normally just say they can't understand us, and I'm like, okay, well, I see you speak English. Well, that's okay.
So just a couple more, because you've got television programs to watch and some sleep to get and what have you. 3 key areas then, you as forwards and such integral forwards in that England pack have got to get right this weekend against France. Yeah, it's the pivotal game in this pool. What are the 3 areas this week? The 3 messages.
I think, like Vic said, touched on earlier, like set piece is going to be huge. We've seen in previous games that we've played against France, like even like the scrum, when a couple of games ago we had no control over that. That was a big turning factor in the game, and it meant we couldn't score too many tries. So I think definitely set piece would be one.
I think territory is also going to be a big one as well. I think we're expecting a lot of kicking in the game, like both from kind of our side, playing in the right areas of the pitch, but also we know that France have a couple of key kickers as well, and like to, you know, pin us back into our 22. So it's definitely going to be a battle of the skies as well in terms of that territory, and we obviously want to play as far away from our try line as possible and pin them down and score lots of tries.
And then probably the collision, definitely, like they've got some big beefy ball carriers that like to get over the gain line, so we've got to stop that and somehow slow them down. So their nines, because they've got some great nines, can't get that nice quick ball in against a broken D, because that will just be playing into their hands, definitely.
Yeah, she scored the first try of the World Cup, didn't she, Sansus? Who else? Indeed. How much better is your scrum, say, from 2 years ago? 2.5 years ago.
That game at was it the Stoop, the COVID Six Nations, that was pretty bad, wasn't it? But from then it's like worlds apart, and I don't think we've not changed too much, and it is quite player driven. That, like, you know, it's embarrassing as a front row when you get dominated at scrum time, so almost that we don't want to be embarrassed, and like you want to be the one embarrassing your opposite. So I think we're worlds apart from that team that got embarrassed that day.
Vicki, you're in there, you love it. How much is that mental and how much is it physical when you pack down?
There's definitely a mindset to go in with, but you can have all the mindset in the world if you haven't got the talent and the skill to be able to do it. And obviously, you know, as a front rower, and especially as a prop, we're the most talented people on the pitch.
Check.
But there definitely is, you know, it's 50% mindset, 50% technique, and you've got to do your job at scrum time. And you win the battle in your head, and then you win the battle against your opposite number. Doesn't matter how big or small they are. Right, they're going backwards.
Convincing your flankers to actually push is always is a good place to start as well.
Come on, Alex. Come on, Malik. Come on, Sadia. Come on. Up on the thigh there. Amy, just finally, how good is it to be back in New Zealand? You played some rugby down there. David obviously posted down there in the Royal Air Force. I know Mum was involved with Manawatu. Is that right?
Yeah, Manawatu. Yeah.
Is it good to be back? Are you catching up with some old friends and that stuff?
Yeah, definitely. I think my parents have been catching up with a few more people than I have. They've got a bit more spare time than me. But it's always nice to come back. Obviously, New Zealand's is a beautiful place. So yeah, no complaints on coming back.
And you're whizzing off to watch a television programme. And what in Emily Scarrett's room? What little pranks have you played on Emily Scarrett tonight?
Not us, but we've got some pranks.
Oh yeah. No, it wasn't us. Honestly, Your Honour, it wasn't us.
I was on the receiving end of a prank that wasn't even meant for me.
Go on.
I'm lucky enough to share the room next to Emily Scarrett. I walked back to my room earlier on, and in the darkness of this corridor, there was this massive spider the size of your fist. And I stood for a full minute assessing it, like, is this going to run at me? Am I going to die? What is this? And then I thought there have been a couple of pranksters, like, putting things out. I saw a cockroach at dinner the other day as well. But so was I don't know if this is a real spider or not. So I got someone's towel and threw the towel at it. It didn't move, but you were saying it does move.
It's Poppy and McKenna. They should never be allowed to be together, but they are roommates for this tour. So yeah, they've got some weird gadgets. But yeah, this spider like still crawls. So we were just stood by the kettle making a hot water bottle for Emily because she's, precious. We need to look after her. They just threw it in the door, and then I was like, "What is that noise?" And then it was just this little spider scuttling along the floor. They got quickly thrown back out the door.
Brilliant, guys. Been an observer of the Red Roses for a long time. I'm not sure I've ever seen you quite so relaxed and enjoying what you're doing, and that is going to just be absolutely crucial for the next 4 or 5 weeks. So yeah, continue doing it. It's brilliant to see. Congratulations on the Fiji win and all the very, very best against France. Thanks so much for joining us on the WRP.
Thank you
very much. Cheers.
Bye.